Here. Not every school does this, but mapping out your year is actually a great way to make sure, whether you're in person, remote, or a combination of the two, that you get through all of your curriculum in that time. I just wanted to share this because it really helped me when I was a teacher. So linked in the slides is a Gantt chart. If you've ever used a Gantt chart, there's a template in Google Docs or Google Sheets that you can use. But basically, it's a way to take your different subjects and really map them out along the year. I think this is a really great way to just organize everything you need to do in the time that we have, and then you can also link your resources. Because one thing I really want to call out is that you're not doing all this on your own. One of the unique things about remote learning that has kind of brought to light to all of us is that we're not the only second grade teacher, the only fourth grade teacher that there's many of us, and that we can actually connect with one another and work together to make education amazing. So one of the cool things is when you map out your year, you can share that with your grade level partner, but you can also take from online resources, link them there, get feedback from others, and really build up what you're going to do. If you're looking for ideas, if you have questions, especially as I'm about to throw a ton of information at you, I'd love for you to join the ClassDojo Teacher Facebook community. It's a great space where you can ask questions, share ideas. If you are suddenly remote and you're like, I don't know how to teach reading comprehension for Unit 1 of BAS system, I don't know, any of that stuff, you can post it on the Facebook community and you'll instantly get tons of teachers from around the world who will share their ideas and links and resources and all that fun stuff. So know that you're not alone, and join us in the Facebook community so we can support one another. Another really important thing as you head back to school is to set expectations. And this is something that you maybe just think about. To be successful in this back to school season, you might want to consider how you set up expectations with families and students, because setting up norms ahead of time will really set your year up for success. For example, if you are teaching remotely, parents are going to be your teammates. So making sure that they understand the way that you teach things can be incredibly helpful. And in the way, I mean like quality questioning, or when you teach growth mindset and we're modeling having a growth mindset, teaching parents that as well helps them model that for their students when you're not necessarily in the home. You may be teaching on ClassStory and the students are watching, but know that parents are also watching, so they can relearn with you and you can help encourage them to use proper language and to support their student in that way. Another important thing to know, and this is for parents and for students, is feedback. Feedback is a great way to help students recognize what they're doing, and you can set these up to reflect remote learning initiatives and skills. But it's important to set up with students and set up with families. What does feedback mean? If you just start giving feedback and you happen to use needs work, a parent might see that and think, oh, I need to, my child's in trouble, I need to get on them when they get home. But if you set up ahead of time, hey, feedback is for the classroom, it's so we can reflect, goal set, helps guide us in our learning. I'm not expecting you to take any action on it when you get home, or maybe you do, depending on what your teaching style is. Then parents know what to do and students know what to do with that feedback. They get that piece of feedback, oh, I participated in a live lesson. What does that mean to them? Well, if you set it up ahead of time, hey, when you get feedback, I'm just praising something that I noticed in you that is super awesome. And I'm hoping to encourage other students to do that as well. Allows them to understand what you're doing. The fact that so many of you are going to be teaching remotely, some of you are in person and remote. Some of you are in person, but maybe have to have a plan to go remote just in case, is pretty pretty crazy that so many of you are just taking this on with grace and flexibility, and it's brand new. So we want to be here to support you however we can. Okay, here we go. So this is your launch pad. When you log into ClassDojo, this is kind of like your home screen and where you want to get to all the different places. We're not going to go into too much detail about your school today, but in this top right corner, I'm in Mojo Academy of Awesomeness School. And here when I click on that, I can go to my school story, which is where school-wide announcements can be posted, school-wide events. And this is where my school leader probably is going to be very active in terms of, managing our directory and seeing highlights. But we're going to focus on you in your classroom. So as I look at my launch pad, along the right, there are a couple of resource links I would love for you to check out at some point. There's a lot of great information there. I'm going to just start by creating a new class real quick. Let's just call this 4th grade. I'm going to select my year and what kind of points do I want to share? I'm going to share all points with parents because I've set up ahead of time what points mean and they are going to be comfortable with it. I'm going to create my class. So as you create your class, you're going to click Add Students. And as you type in names of students, they will pop up if you're verified for your school. Hopefully you're all verified. Your ClassDojo Mentor or school leader can verify you for your school. If you don't see that, you can always drop us an email at hello@classdojo.com so we can verify you. Because once you do that, any student who has already been added to your directory, you can just pull right into your class. So I can click on Sarah and add her to my class. If you have students who are new to your school, and they don't pop up, you can just click this blue plus and that will add them to your list. You can also simply copy and paste your list from Word or Excel, which is pretty nice, especially when you just get your list. I'm sure a lot of you are getting like an email with your class list. Once you've done that, you'll want to connect both your students and parents. The nice thing is, this is getting updated in a moment here, literally in the next couple days, rather than having to download printouts or enter parents' email or phone number, you're going to see something here that says class link. Class link is going to be just amazing because when you do back to school night, whether it's in person or you're doing a Zoom back to school night, you will just share this one link with families. They will all copy that link, select their student, and be instantly connected. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. You'll see that in the next few days. So my parents are connected, my students are connected, and I want to call out how you connect students. Now there's 2 ways you can do student login, the classroom login or at-home login. Now if you're doing a lot of remote learning, if students are logging in on their own, please use the at-home login. Classroom login is intended for classrooms that maybe have a shared device. You want students to be able to toggle back and forth really quickly, and you want to display it in your classroom. Now, if you have a remote classroom where students are logging in on their own, you just want to go to the at-home login and you can click Message Parents and it will send them their students' logins. Easy. You can also get printouts to send home with students, but their individual home login allows them to log in only to their account. And so they can start sharing to their portfolio, they can see your ClassStory, and be really involved in your classroom community. I'm gonna actually go to my class that I already have set up. So here's my class with all my students in it. The very first thing we're going to start out with is, one of the first things, kind of one of the places we started was feedback. If you were like me and you started with using feedback, you'll know that ClassDojo has really changed along the way. And the reason we are where we are today is because of the feedback and ideas that teachers have shared with us. Everything that we've done has been because a teacher said, I want this, or I need this. And we really listen, and we want to understand why you want or need that and build something amazing. Positive feedback, and there's needs work feedback. You can edit these are totally customizable. And you can also, again, change that if you decide you want parents to see all points, positive points, or no points. Now, these feedback skills, you can see that I changed some of mine to be more remote friendly. Again, you can go and you can add these skills. So I might, we're going to add some new icons here too. But let's do like washed hands after lunch. Maybe that's a skill that you want to add. And now that pops up there. Needs work, you can either add a 0 point, like a neutral point, or you can do up to 5. Now, the nice thing about neutral points is, that's kind of how we want to set up for reminders for students. We don't tend to use needs work very much, but if you're using needs work feedback, just remember to really set that up with your students that this isn't a negative thing. This is needs work. We're all growing and changing and learning, and we all have things we need to work on. And if you set up your feedback like that with students, then they know if I get a needs work feedback, and it says patience, then I can go, wait a minute, what am I doing? Oh, I was just shouting out instead of raising my hand. I will not do that. I'm going to raise my hand. So that makes students stop, reflect, goal set, and helps them grow. An example here that I have of a neutral one is Antarctica. Like if a student was just, not feeling it, they're having a hard time and they needed to chill out and take a break or a breather, they might say, hey, I need to go to Antarctica. And I'm like, you're good. Go to Antarctica, come back when you're ready. But I might want to keep track of that. So let's say a student, goes to Antarctica, then I can add a note and say, Caitlin recognized that she was having a hard time. And I can add whatever note that I would like, and then parents can see that at home so they're really in the know about their child's day. Okay, so that's just feedback in general. Also on this screen, you'll see that there is Toolkit. Toolkit is amazing, maybe one of my favorite parts. Definitely explore this. A couple that I just want to call your attention to, the Group Maker. This is nice because, you always have students complaining that, I want to be with so-and-so. Well, ClassDojo made the groups. I can't do anything about it. But also, they don't have to know that there's a don't group together part, and you can make sure those two chatty Cathys don't end up in the same group. Also, I really love the music toolkit. There's active music, which is great for transitions. Like I played music as you all joined this webinar, playing that active music as they join the classroom, kind of sets the tone, makes them feel good and happy. There's no lyrics in any of these. And then the focus music, the beats per minute is right at the right beats per minute for focusing. Like what's the recommended beats per minute for studying. So that's really helpful. Sometimes when I'm working, I'll just play that in the background. Those are basic management tools that are really nice because you can use them in the classroom, but you can also use them if you're teaching remotely. If you're doing Zoom classes, you can display this screen. Students will hear the sounds. There's a random picker, so you don't have to have popsicle sticks on your desk and then show them in the Zoom camera. It shows it right on your screen. So all these things really help keep you organized, whether you're in the classroom or teaching remotely. You'll also notice that there's an attendance feature. This is great. It's a great way to keep track of, especially if you're doing Zoom classes, of who joins your Zoom classes. And you can mark students absent, tardy, or present, or they showed up late. Let's cancel. Okay. You can also create groups. So this is really nice if you're in person, because I like to make them by table groups. And then you can award feedback to those groups. Let's talk about ClassStory. ClassStory is how you're going to basically create a classroom. And again, this still applies if you're in an in-person environment, because you not only will be sharing updates for families, but then you can share things home with students to front load their learning or reteach things. especially like, let's talk about like cross multiplying fractions. When I was teaching fractions in 4th grade, I cannot tell you the number of parents who are like, I can't help my child with this homework. And no shame, like I get it. It's been a while since we've done that. So being able to share those lessons to ClassStory not only help their students, but help the parents relearn some things so they could really help their students. So ClassStory is where you're going to share things like pictures, choice boards, video lessons. So this is an example of, this is me on my desk, just like playing with coins, trying to make up a lesson. But you can actually record yourself within your ClassStory teaching a lesson. Now the max video is 8 minutes, which is like about the attention span of most kiddos. But you can always upload a link. So if you have longer lessons, you can always save it to a Google Drive and then upload that link to your ClassStory, and students can then access that. But the nice thing about posting a video lesson on your ClassStory is that students can view it, parents can view it, and students and parents can comment on it. So those conversations that you would normally be having in the classroom that students might be having with each other around this lesson, they can have within the comments, and you can actually see all that and see, oh, maybe I need to reteach that, I wasn't very clear, or oh wow, Tommy had a question about this, but then Angelo answered, and really see how they're continuing to work with one another. Again, you can see who viewed it, so I can actually click and see which parents viewed it and which students viewed it. And then I can see if a parent translated any captions into any language. Now, translations, just so you know, are totally automatic. So parents just have to change their account settings to their preferred language, and then they can translate captions and messages, and you don't have to do anything. On ClassStory, yes, you can record video. You can upload a photo, meaning a photo of an anchor chart, a photo of an insect that you're sharing because you're teaching insects in 2nd grade. You can upload files. So if you have a PDF packet of resources, you can share that there. You can also create events. So when I click event, let's say this is back to school night. And I want parents to know about back to school night on August 10th. That's great. Now, I don't know whether this is going to be in person, or let's just say you are fully remote. So here is where you would share your Zoom link if you are using Zoom, or a Google Hangout link. And you'll put that in the description of the event. Now, I could change this for fun. I then get to choose what reminders are sent out. Do I want a reminder sent out immediately, 5 days before, 1 day before, 1 hour before? Let's just keep them all on there, and I will create this event. Awesome, done. Now parents will see this on their side of their account. It'll be pinned up here at the top until that event comes and passes. And if there's a Zoom link there, they could click that and join that Zoom or Google Hangout or whatever is your preferred live chat function. I also like to use events for pinning resources. So I might label it as resources for August. And then the link that I would include might be a Google Drive link, and then I can continue to upload things to Google Drive, and parents will always have that event pinned at the top so they can access it very easily. The way you should think about ClassDojo is that it is your home base. There are so many different digital resources you can use. Like there's Raz Kids, and there's Mystery Science, and Go Noodle, and Google Hangouts, and Google Classroom, and all those things. The great thing is that you shouldn't have to choose one thing, right? You're the expert, you know your unique group of kiddos and what's best for them. We trust you on that. And that's why we just wanted to create a place where you can share those things. You can share links. You can make sure students and families are supported and have access to everything that they need and aren't hopping around to a million places trying to locate it. This is their home base. This is where they can find everything. And you can do this on ClassStory to the entire class. or you can do it via messaging. Now, if you hop into messaging, it's really nice because yes, you can send a message to the entire class of parents, to all the parents in your class, or you can send a message to an individual parent. Now, I would definitely use this for differentiating for students. Now, you may have students who have an IEP or a 504 plan, and they have work that's specific to their needs that you don't want to post to ClassStory. Well, you can share that via messages by attaching files there. And this means that you can meet those students' needs, whether they're in your classroom and that's just something you're sending home to support, or you're teaching remotely. I can even add that response to intervention teacher. I can add her to my class, and that teacher can now see everything that student is doing and support that family, and then send that family resources directly, rather than having to send them to me and then I send them on and then they ask a question, then I have to go ask. Instead, I can add that teacher as a co-teacher, and then that co-teacher can share all that information. So you're really able to support your students, not just as a whole, but individually. Now, quiet hours. Can we just mention this really quick? Yeah, couple things before I move on from messaging. You can schedule messages. So if you have something coming up that you don't want to forget, schedule that message. You can plan ahead. It'll get sent out. You don't have to worry about it. Super nice. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Also, quiet hours. You deserve work-life balance. You should set quiet hours. Also, communicate this with families. Let them know, hey, especially remote, it's important that I have working hours and time where I can set things aside and have a breather. By setting quiet hours, you will not get notifications on your phone about messages or through ClassDojo for messages. Instead, parents will see that, it's quiet hours. Mrs. Warren might not reply until later. Now, if you logged on, you could still see the message, but you just won't get a notification. So that's a really, really nice feature that I am strongly encouraging you to use. So let's talk about portfolios, because so many of you are probably going to use portfolios this back to school season, and that's great. Again, everything that we create with this idea of flexibility so you can meet your students' needs. So this is portfolios. You can see I have some pending posts here, meaning students submitted them, and I need to take a look and decide if I want to approve them or not. So let's start. We're gonna go top down. Right now we're in all posts. I can view everything. Next thing is activities. Activities is how you assign work to students. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to share this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But we're adding to activities so that you can assign activities to an individual student or a group of students. Because right now when you assign an activity, it goes out to the entire class. But we know that you want flexibility and you want to be able to differentiate for your kiddos, so you'll be able to choose who to assign it to. So if I get in trouble for sharing that, oh well. I'm going to go to create activity. Again, this is how you're assigning work. So maybe I am posting to class. I posted a video lesson to ClassStory, and it was lesson 1, math. Hopefully I also labeled on ClassStory lesson 1 math so they can make that connection. Little tip. Now I would then write my instructions. One thing I really like to do is use emojis. So on a Mac, that's Control Command Spacebar, and it'll pull up the emojis. So let's do, oh, whoops. Okay, so you can pull up an emoji and say, write out the math equation from the ClassStory lesson. And then solve for the answer. Okay, pretend I did a whole bunch of instructions there. Once I've done that, I am going to choose how I want them to respond. With an activity, you're asking for something specific back from students. So do I want them to type out a journal entry? Do I want them to record a video? Do I want them to take a photo of some math manipulatives maybe? Like, that might work. Or a drawing. A drawing's great because then they can use, you know, the text tool, they can draw things. I'll probably use that for a math activity. That's probably a good one for me. And then I can assign it to the class. Now, worksheets. In the next like week, 2 weeks maybe, I'm telling you too many things I'm not supposed to. It'll be out. You'll be able to do this. I turned it on for myself today so I could show you though. When you click worksheet, you go to upload attachment, and then you simply grab a file. There we go, drag and drop. Now, I dragged and dropped a picture, and I'm gonna upload this file. And now that worksheet is attached and I can assign that to the class. Really cool. And once you assign an activity, you can see how many have been approved, how many are pending, how many have not yet submitted. If I went, oops, this instructions, all that does not actually match what I just uploaded, I can always go back and edit the activity. But let's go to one where we actually have some work submitted. So activity 1 here, you can see that I have 1 approved, 1 pending. So this one is the pending one. I can go in and get a look. I can write a comment. I can approve it. I can return it as a draft. So as students submit work to you, you can really interact with them and give them feedback on their work. Here's an example of another one. My instructional coach is a co-teacher in my class, and she added some feedback for the student. So it's really nice that not just me as the classroom teacher is able to give feedback and check these students' work, but whoever you add as a co-teacher can also give feedback, and she actually approved this one as well. I can add another comment, I can like it, all that fun stuff. Students can also upload work without there needing to be an activity. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, this is what the student account looks like on web. So now I can, as a student, go to my activities that have been assigned to me. You can see that there's quite a few here. Here is, oh, this is the first time I've played with it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is the worksheets. Oh. Maybe I should have done this before I talked to you guys. Oh my gosh, this is so fun and exciting. Oh, let's do text. Today I am feeling happy. So cool. Oh, and they can zoom. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll stop. Hopefully you guys are just as excited as me because that's so cool. Anyways, that was an activity, or students can simply post on their own. So if the student wanted to share a photo, a video, a drawing, a file, a journal, they can do that all from their account. Now, some ideas on how to use this. Students can always take a photo of anything they're working on, right? They can take a photo of a worksheet they actually completed. Like if you sent home papers, they can take a picture and upload that. That's easy. But they can also take photos of, if you're talking about math, like the math manipulatives they're working with, they can take a photo, they can go to their dog, take a picture of their dog and label, this is the head, this is the leg. You know, there's so many different ways that you can use photos that's incredibly flexible. I really like using photo as a way to do running records. So you can ask students to take a picture of a page in their book, and then let's just do this. It's gonna open the other camera and get real confused. It's not a good angle. Okay, so they can pretend that's a picture of a page in my book, okay? But then they can use the voice memo to then read from their book. So they're reading along and you can see all the words that they're reading, and you can do a running record from wherever you are. Another cool idea is with videos. Again, these things are incredibly flexible and they're designed so that students have choice and agency in how they're sharing their thinking with you, and how you can interact with your students. So you might post to ClassStory a choice board, and you're asking students to complete 3 out of the however many things by this date. And oh, one of these is video yourself telling me how you're doing. So a student can see that on the choice board, go up to video, and then record a video themselves saying, hey, Mrs. Warren, I'm doing pretty good. Or maybe this is their first assignment for back to school. Maybe you're going to assign this as an activity, and it's, I would love to get to know you. Share a video all about you. And so students can record themselves saying a hello, all about themselves, and you can get to know those kiddos before you ever meet in person, which is pretty cool. I really like drawing because it's just like their whiteboards in class. So I don't know about you, but when I was a teacher, I bought a whole bunch of shower board from Home Depot and had them cut it up. And then I had, those cheap little whiteboards. But kiddos would always lose caps to markers, and my Expo markers would dry out, or we'd buy the cheap ones from the dollar store that never lasted. So consider this a much better version of your classroom whiteboards. It's very nice because students can draw with shapes, with lines, with just the pen, and they can add text. So it's a very flexible way for them to share their thinking, whether it's drawing out math, or just, drawing their dream tree house, whatever it might be. They can add a caption, and again, they can add a voice note. Let's go back home. Okay, files. I'm sorry I'm saying flexible so much, but files means that students can upload pretty much anything. So if you are using other programs and they created some kind of stop motion video through another app, they could upload that file and then you can access it. So a great way for them to share that with you. Also, journal. It's just a white page where they can share, whether they are doing a pre-assessment for writing on a personal narrative. And then instruction goes, and then you do a post-assessment on personal narrative. And then students can look in their portfolio and see that pre-assessment and that post-assessment. And they can read both and see how much they've grown. That's really cool. They can also use a journal just to share how they're doing, to write about their reading. If you are sending home the discussion guides from the big ideas, they might use the journal to write down their answers there. So again, flexible. That's my word. That's my word of the day, flexible. You can see on the student account that they can scroll and see ClassStory. So when I am posting links to Khan Academy, or I am posting video lessons, they can access all of that there. If you're sharing a link to a Google Drive, they can access that. There's a video lesson. Also, I shared a big ideas video, so they can click on that and because I don't have them in my class, but I still want to introduce growth mindset and empathy and other social emotional learning topics, I posted it to my ClassStory, and they're going to watch it on their own. So we've talked about classroom management tools. We talked about ClassStory being the place that is your home base where you can share lessons, resources, links, events with both parents and with students. We talked about how you can connect with any family no matter what language they speak, and schedule messages, set quiet hours. We talked about portfolios and how you can assign activities, how students can submit things on their own, and how you'll continue to engage with students, whether they're in the classroom and this is homework, whether they're at the back table and they're sharing work with the class iPad, or this is a remote lesson. That's all going to be done with your portfolios. Everything is in one place, so you can close the 20 different tabs you have open and have your own centralized area where you can connect with students, connect with families, and continue learning in the classroom and at home. Okay. Yeah, someone said also just play around with it. The great thing about ClassDojo is you can create a class and play around with it and, you know, explore those different pieces. There's also a demo class that you can play around with, and that way you're not changing anything within your school directory. So lots of stuff that you can play around with. We also, let me hop back over to these slides. Just a moment, my friends, before I start answering questions. La, la, la. Okay. In these slides, there's a couple of things linked that I would love for you to bookmark or just take a moment to explore at some point. First is the help desk, classdojo.com/help, or just search ClassDojo help desk, however you want to get to it. But there are tons of articles that walk you through how to do things step by step, not just for you. There are articles for students and for families and for school leaders that will really help guide you. And we're continually adding those articles as we add new features. I would also recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. As soon as I edit this video, I'll put it on YouTube, and then you'll just get a notification and that webinar is there. But there are also tutorials on YouTube. So there is a tutorial for families how to post portfolios, so that if families need a little extra support, they can find it there. And as I continue to host these webinars and things, we will put them onto YouTube, so that there is just a huge library of resources. There's also classdojo.com/resources, which we are updating. We're adding more resources to that as we speak. So a great place to check out, especially in the next month. Now, to get all your questions answered, I would really start with the help desk. And if you can't find the answer there, I would absolutely join the ClassDojo teacher Facebook community, because you'll have teachers, thousands of teachers, who can probably answer your question like that. You also, every school has a ClassDojo mentor, so that there should be one person who's kind of the de facto expert at your school. But if you have exhausted all your resources, we of course want to help you, and you can always drop us an email at hello@classdojo.com. Just keep in mind, back to school season, all of a sudden we get lots more tickets. So the help desk and the Facebook group are great places to get really quick answers to any of those questions that you might have. Okay, so I'm gonna try to answer some of these questions. Natalie, feel free to interrupt me if you saw one that was like a great one we should answer. Okay, someone asked, we have our class list for the upcoming year, but the school has been pushed back. The parents, wait. Great question. Okay, sorry, I had to reach my head. So when you add students to a class, if you pull those students from the directory, parents are automatically connected. So if you have your class list and you want to set up your class, and you add students from the directory, parents won't get a notification. Let's close this. Parents won't get a notification that they're suddenly in Mrs. Warren's class, but if they happen to log in, then they will see what class their student is in. So what I recommend is to create your class and not add students yet, or change your account name to fourth grade teacher, and then ask the other fourth grade teacher to change their account to fourth grade teacher. And so it's more anonymous of like, oh, I don't know who this fourth grade teacher is, but I'm in this class. So that's one thing to consider. Again, parents won't get a notification, but if they happen to log in, that's one thing you want to keep track of. Let's see. Someone asked if they can add audio to assigning when they assign activities. Not yet, but it's great feedback. Let's see, what else do I have on here? Okay, great. If you are a speech language pathologist or a response intervention teacher or the art teacher or the music teacher, you can create your own class. Yes, teachers can add you as a co-teacher, but oftentimes, like let's say I am the speech language pathologist, I might have Fritz and Jordan and Sasha, and they all come to me for speech. So I could be co-teachers in their classes across fourth grade, or I can create my own class, add those students to my class, and then I can post to ClassStory, I can contact families, I can do everything in relation to those students as their own contained class. Students can be in as many classes as they need to. They'll just see them listed separately on their page, and families will see that there's students in more than one class. So definitely something to consider. Let's see. Someone asked, oh, great question. Someone asked, with the class link, will parents be able to access other students? No. So once you share the class link, they will type in their student's name, and then you will then have to accept, like, oh, Jordan Scott is indeed the parent of Peel Scott. And then they're connected. So easy for parents to connect, but you still have to approve. We don't want any parents having access to students they're not supposed to. Oh, a parent asked if they had to pay to get full access to Dojo. No. ClassDojo is a free app for teachers, families, and students. There is an additional paid piece because unfortunately, somehow we have to keep the lights on at Dojo HQ, right? So there is an additional paid piece called Beyond School that families can sign up for. Again, totally optional, but it is paid. So if parents are saying, I have to pay for this, then they're looking at the wrong section. They can have a free account. You have a free account. School leaders have a free account. Students have a free account. Because as former teachers and just a whole bunch of people who care about education and people, we know that you spend your own money in your classroom. I can't tell you how many times my husband told me to stop spending my own money in the classroom. He'd be like, why are you buying more markers? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So we know that you spend your own money in your classroom, and we don't want you to have to pay for another thing. So hopefully that answers that. Ooh, any ideas while teaching remotely for incentives? Yes. Incentives for teaching remotely. You might do, a student can be teacher on the Zoom call or do a read aloud on the Zoom call. They can do a house tour. They can wear their pajamas to class. Those are always some good ones. A high up one might be like get a letter from the teacher and then you like actually write a paper letter to them. I think that would be really special. Another really high point one might be like drive by the teacher and you just drive by and honk your horn or something. But also that's a great question to pose in the ClassDojo teacher Facebook community, because I feel like there would be some great answers to that. Let's see. Someone asked about Google Classroom. Once your school is requiring to use Google Classroom once we go to online learning, can I link my dojo to Google Classroom? So again, everything you do, like so apps and other things that you use, we want you to be able to take those and okay, so yeah, if Google Classroom is required, that's fine. Google Classroom is great. We just want you to be able to have a space where you can communicate with families, share links. So again, consider ClassDojo as your home base where you're sharing those things and making sure that students have access and have everything they need. There isn't a specific integration. It's just flexible sharing links, that kind of thing. So I think I'm going to stop it there. I appreciate you hanging out with me and dealing with, you know, sometimes I trip over words and share the wrong screen or whatever, but you stuck through it, so good on you. But in case, like I said, you are amazing. So many of you are, maybe you've been teaching for years and suddenly you're having to learn to teach remotely. That's pretty impressive. Or maybe you're a new teacher and this is like your first year. Could you imagine if this was your first year teaching? Whew. But everyone is just taking on these challenges this year. And it is like kind of amazing to be a part of this community and to see all of you just, you showed up to a webinar, you are showing how much you want to learn and grow, and just, no one's giving you a round of applause recently. There you go. Okay, cool. So look for my follow-up email and I will talk to you on Facebook. Bye, guys.